This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience. Episode 48, May 20th, Camp 3.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest video podcast. I'm John Miller, coming to you a day late because I really wanted to get a special guest on the show, and he had time today, so I'm releasing the show a little bit late, but I'm very pleased to welcome back to the show Lhawang and Lhakpa out in Berkeley, California. How you doing, Lhawang?
I'm good, thanks.
Now, Lhawang is back a couple weeks back from a climb of Choi OU. How did that climb go, Lhawang?
Pretty good. We had a kind of little bit weather, but eventually it went really well. Like, it was a pretty smooth sailing.
That's good. And so, Lhawang, you're back in the United States for a little bit. You have a home in California, but you spend very little time there, right?
Yes, that's right. Like, I spend during the off season, and whenever I have a kind of like climbing trip coming up, then I travel overseas. Yeah,
Lhawang has not been on the show recently in the past several months because he's always out of the country. So, Lhawang, I'm glad to have you back on the show. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me here, John.
All right, so this episode we're going to continue the climb towards the summit, and we're actually going to start back with me at base camp, of course, and I'm going to let all of you guys see what it's like to really deal with radio communications on Everest. As you know, it's not the easiest thing, and this episode will really tell you how frustrating it can be. So let's head back up to base camp. Here we go.
Yeah, you know, the white bag in the 40. We got left side.
Yeah,
you know, left side, there's a white bag, and, mountain hardware stage.
All right, so what we're seeing here is I'm at the actually the Indian Army camp, because they had a pretty good radio setup, and you'll hear me talking with Rupert. You guys all know Rupert from some past episodes, but I was trying to pass a message on to Julian, his climbing partner, because his parents had contacted me. I guess they had read one of the dispatches that I had sent out, and they wanted some information from me on how he was doing.
Maybe around 7:30, and see you on the way to 83, over. Okay, thank you, Django. I think I heard Julian on the radio. See you, over.
Rupert, this is John at base camp. Over. Rupert, this is John at base camp. Are you receiving? Over.
Hey John, yeah, receiving from Camp 2, and we saw Ben at the North Col this morning. I'm not sure whether he's here at Camp 2 or pushed higher up. Over.
That's great, but actually I'm only trying to get in contact with you guys. Over.
At 7,000. I'm afraid to tell you, Julian is just calling me from ABC. He has a chest infection, so
I'm actually trying to get in touch with Julian for his parents. Over.
Julian, I don't know what camp. He's trying to get in touch with you.
I'm having trouble receiving you, Rupert. Can you repeat? Over.
Julian, I just relayed your message to him.
Now you can hear that I'm getting about every third word on a lot of this stuff.
Oh, it was coming in nice and clear for a minute there.
Now, Lhawang, you've climbed from the south side many times.
Are you receiving?
Are radio communications a little bit better on the south side of the mountain?
It's a little bit better on the south side of the mountain. The reason why north side, especially from like ABC to base camp, is like you kind of like, as you've been there, so you know, like it's kind of like curved, and there's so many barrens within the, like mostly it was blocked by jungle.
Exactly.
Is it ABC with chest infection?
Is it possible if Stuart and I leave our sleeping bags at the camp at 7-7, Joseph can carry them up? Over.
Yeah, so you can tell that I can hear Rupert just fine, but I can't hear Julian at ABC because ABC's behind Chongse. But Camp 2 is just the radio's just reaching over the top of Chongse, so I can get it pretty well.
Yeah, once you get to like above North Pole, it's easier.
It's a lot easier, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can almost see the climbers. Camp 2 is still a little bit too low. Camp 3 and Camp 4 are a lot easier to get in contact
Or
with.
easier to get in contact.
Rupert, this is John. Can you still receive me? Over.
Yeah, John, I can see you perfectly. You can't hear him.
This is so frustrating. It's just, you hear just every
Is there a
few
different
words.
frequency I could use? Over.
Don't think so, John. Julian is on 144.100 MI. He said he is receiving you perfectly. Julian, I don't know whether your transmit battery is worth changing or anything like that.
Tell him you should go contact the Indian doctor.
The Indian?
Doctor, and we'll contact at 6:15.
Okay, Julian, if you can receive me, this is John, of course. I'm here at the Indian Army camp. They're letting me use their radio graciously, and they are saying, could you, in 30 minutes, can you make your way? The frequency changed.
Yeah, so this was really frustrating because the Russians next door were broadcasting on and for some reason their radio kind of tweaked with my radio here, and it changed the frequency. I think my radio locked onto theirs.
The frequency on the radio changed. If you can still receive me, if you can make your way to the Indian camp in 30 minutes and contact the doctor there, I would like to get a message from you to your. We got most of it.
I'm just glad that no one was in danger at this point.
I'm going to give a quick message and have him go over again.
Otherwise, that would have been really
Julian,
frustrating.
John, I can't hear you, but apparently you can hear me. If you could make your way in 30 minutes to the Indian Army camp and see the doctor so you can use their radio, I need to relay a message from you to your parents by email. They have contacted me miraculously by email.
Yeah, they didn't have my email address. I think they got my email address through everestnews.com.
And they are
I was
concerned
sending
about you and
reports
would
out
like
there.
any information possible. And I can't receive you, so that's over and out.
All right, so this is a little bit later in the day, and we're trying to get in touch with you guys, Lhawang.
That was explaining about the weather condition down at the base. I couldn't hear.
Yeah, that's. I think that's you, Lhawang, on the other end.
Yeah. The yak will arrive at the base camp on 26, and then you guys decide like you 27 or 28 leave from the base camp to Kathmandu Zangmo.
Yeah, that's one of the things about when you use an expedition company at Everest. Not everyone does, but most people do. And I think your success rate is a lot greater when you use a good company because they just take care of everything like you guys did.
Right now, there are 7, 8.
7, 8?
Yeah, weather is not really good over there, a little windy. If weather is good, they will go last camp. Otherwise, they're staying in.
One more day?
Yeah, one more day. And for you, Lhawang said, for you and try to check in weather. If you can, try to.
I have weather.
Yeah, weather check report. Then we contact again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you will check and maybe tomorrow and day after tomorrow which day is good and try to check whether then after you will talk with Lhawang. Yeah.
It's kind of important when you get closer to the summit at time, try to get like as many resources as possible.
Yeah, because I mean, really, your lives could depend on it if you get hit by a big storm up high. And so, yeah, I was freaking out because
Because
I had weather reports, but I just they weren't terribly good.
Yeah, we paid a little bit money to this guy, Russell Bryce. And then I remember, like, he's, like, popping through the whole, like, a little bit of, like, synopsis of the weather reports at the ABC.
Oh, so you actually paid Russell for some of his weather data?
Yeah, we paid, like, I think we paid, like, whole season. So we get, like, 3 days in weather report. But Ben kind of like pretty nice. And then do you remember the guy Beton?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The French guy. He kind of like he's a socializer. So he goes to every different camp at the ABC and try to get the report. Sometimes like it kind of like confuse you. Too many information makes you kind of like a little bit like you don't really know. It's harder to make a decision. Some says it's going to be nice and some says it's not going to be nice. So you don't really know like which one to believe.
Oh, exactly.
I think you are ready to read the weather report.
Yeah. But I don't think we get through to you guys.
Base Camp Lhawang, Base Camp Ben. This is John. I have weather report. Over.
Where did you get the weather report? Oh.
I got the weather report from Bertrand's friend Denis. Do you remember Denis? He was one of the Chamonix climbers.
Oh yeah.
He was paying the Swiss company, I believe, for some really good weather reports, and he was because I was sharing my internet connection with him. He'd share the weather reports. So, you know, that's another thing about Everest. People really pitch in and they share whatever they've got. You know, if you've got something they can use, you know, they'll use it, and in return they'll give you something else. It works out pretty well.
Base Camp Lhawang. Over.
I remember you guys going for a dinner one time, like after when we came back from the summit to the French camp.
Before the French camp, we went and had a really nice. Before you guys left, after the windstorm. Yeah, we had a really nice dinner with them. Yeah, that was a podcast episode. That was a great episode, and they had really good food. All right, so this is a time lapse I took a little bit later, and you can see the clouds and the weather moving in. And you can see these black dots going up and down on the ground, and those are all herds of yaks or climbers. Everest just broke through there for a second, but you can see that the weather down low was a little bit worse than I think up high. So I think the bad weather lasted in elevation up to about the top of Changse, which you guys were right about at the same altitude as that, right? All right, so this is me walking into the Indian Army camp again later that evening. Their team had made the summit.
Where's the stripper?
But I'm sorry, only beer left. Only beer.
Boca's brother, and then there was another guy. The two of them went. Three of them left, but two of them made it to the top.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a really. There were two girls. Do you remember?
Yep.
One Tibetan girl and one Tamang girl. They wanted to do it, but they didn't want to send, and so it was kind of like.
We sit down at 6 o'clock. No, everything finished.
Very, emotional.
That's VJ there, and he was pretty drunk by this point. He was celebrating pretty hard. So all right, so this is up at I believe this is Camp 2, and we'll climb up to Camp 3, and you can see that it's a much different view from up there than Advanced Base Camp. You can actually see.
East Rongbuk Glacier. That's part of Changse. People climbing up.
How was the climb up from the North Col up to Camp 2?
Yes.
Well, how was it for you? Because this was the first time, this is the only time you've climbed on the north side.
It was pretty good. Like we had a because that's the kind of like the most windiest part of the whole section climbing would be from North Quill to like 7.5. It's so exposed, like you could see it's kind of like almost like a gap where the wind tunnel go through. So you have to kind of like once you get to the like above 7.6 or 7.7, then you kind of like as you could see like kind of like you get a little sheltered by the rocks. So it's a little less windier. But climbing from 7.3, 7.1 or 7.2 to like 7.5 is like there's no way you could hide from the wind because you just walk through this like a wind channel gap. So it was windy.
You can hear it. You can hear that it's windy. And then we had the clouds closed in a little bit later on in the day.
And we spent we spent an extra night at the 7.8 because it was so windy. Like we didn't move up. I think there was pretty good decision.
So you spent 2 nights at Camp 3.
Yeah.
Wow, you can tell how windy it's been because there's not a lot of snow on this part of the route, is there?
No, there's not. So you have to kind of like a lot of people get like above 7.5. Most of the times are on a like mixed kind of really uneasy. You cannot really take off the crampon because there's like kind of like ices and snow on like some steeper sections. But you can like when you climb with the crampon, it's like a lot of dry rock, kind of like scree, and so that's why it's kind of challenging from the north side. Is all the difficulties come above like 8,000 meter.
Right.
So and then also the climbing from the north side is like first step, second step, all those like the technical stuff, as well as after summiting, like coming down takes also a lot of time because like the ridge is really long. You just keep walking and walking, still like just never ends, which that's why like most of the commercial expedition they do it from the south side because it's a little bit easier, more snow. If something happened, people could like even like it's a little bit easier, I think, to rescue on the snow than on the rock and mix kind of like terrain.
Yeah, I'm looking at this shot here and it looks steep and just, a second ago you could see there was nothing but rock. There was no snow. And so it must have been pretty dicey with the crampons on. Did you just slide around a lot on the rock?
Yeah, a lot of people like we take like at least like one extra crampon for like 3 of us. I remember like when Jas and Joan Rathkelly coming down, like Joan crampon snapped and he was like, oh, like it happened. So, but fortunately they were coming down. Otherwise there would be like another kind of like issue, another kind of like a obstacle to make it to the top.
Right. So this footage now is we're coming into Camp 3, and I wish I could recognize some of the climbers. At this point, we knew a lot of people, but everyone kind of looks anonymous because they're all in their down suits. And at this point, you're using oxygen. Is that correct?
Yes, like all the Western climber, they start using oxygen from 7.8 or 7.5.
Okay, so I have to ask, you just said all the Western climbers. What does that mean exactly?
The Sherpas are like, they use only from last camp to summit. They don't really need, unless like the expedition is very high, kind of like a budget. Then, if there are a lot of oxygen and a lot of money budget on the expedition, like people use it because the more oxygen you use it, you'll be better shape.
Yeah, the more guaranteed the summit is, not the
Or
summit's
guaranteed
ever get.
summit, and then absolutely keeps you warmer, and also there are a lot of like benefit. That's the only thing what you need is like oxygen and a little bit of Pringle and lots of water.
Yeah, a little bit of Pringles, chips.
Yeah.
That's what summits are fueled on, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So
These
here,
looks like a French. There was like a big French group right in front of us.
yeah. And you can see, they're all clipping into the fixed line there, and so everyone's going up and down these fixed ropes. So not too many people go off route, do they? They pretty much just stay right on the fixed lines.
Uh-huh.
Here's some people taking a rest break.
Yeah, that's right above like last camp, because there's like one section.
Yeah, so so we're getting up. This is getting up towards the next episode here. So of course, there's going to be more climbing next episode, and we're going to culminate with the summit day is not this next episode, but the episode after. It's actually ends up being episode 50. Kind of interesting how it worked out to be a nice round number. So we'll rejoin the summit push next week, and I'm going to try my best to get it out on time next week. And Lhawang, I hope you can join us for these next couple episodes.
I'll try my best. It was my bad that I couldn't I had a little technology problem. That wasn't John's fault or anything.
Oh, but it's really I appreciate you being available for this, and Ben is out of town. He just got back in from Nepal, but he's out visiting his family right now. So hopefully we'll get him on these next 2 episodes, so you can hear right from the guys who summited. So thanks so much, Lhawang. I really appreciate hearing from you again. It's been great.
My pleasure, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, bye.
All right, everyone, we'll see you next week. The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every week. If you enjoy watching and would like to show your support, then take a look at my website. Aside from having lots of additional blog entries from the expedition updated every week, there's this little donation button on every page. Now, many of you have pressed that button, and your generous contributions are helping to cover my hosting fees. If you haven't donated but would like to, then just contribute any amount. In return, I'll give you access to the video and audio dispatches I sent out while we were actually at Everest. It's pretty interesting stuff. Contribute $25 or more, and I'll even throw in an iPod-compatible version of the film Everest: The Other Side. That's the project the entire podcast here is based on. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywu.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.